Basically, the last few weeks have been rather interesting. Where to begin? I finished work around the 1st of April, with the intention being that I would spend about a week putting the finishing touches to the bike, and then hoping to leave with Dan around the 10th of April. What actually happened was I indeed used that week for bike prep. By and large, all of the kit I already had. I'd ordered it. I was pretty sure that that's what I wanted to use, and it seemed, it was packed and ready to go by that date. However, the bike was not ready. I think the reason being that I almost had too long to think about ways to make the bike perfect, and as a result I attempted to make far too many changes to the bike. So where I'd originally got to with very lightweight, maybe having the luxury of a screen, of like a couple of electric sockets, and some hard wearing, hybrid on-road, off-road tyres. What then happened is I think through probably too much time spent thinking about it at work, started to attempt to answer questions that didn't necessarily need answering. So for instance, I bought an additional diagnostic panel, if you like, that had speed and distance, it had temperature, it had RPM, it had a voltmeter, and I think really out of all of those particular functions, the only thing that I actually needed was a voltmeter. And then another example would be, for example, the screen. I had an idea about having a rally bike, making it look, and rally bikes have a tall front fairing with an instrument cluster and a map board, which I thought would be very useful so that we didn't have to constantly stop as we're driving along through Mongolia, for example. What then happened is that I then ran into technical difficulties creating this rally dashboard. So the screen, which I'd originally bought, the fairing, if you like, was the easy bit, and then actually supporting this on the front of the bike, every time I wanted to change, to add the additional bit that I needed, something had to change and move, and it became less of an ideal structure. So basically the time allotted to that blew out of all proportion, and part of the problem with even the rally fairing was that I decided that I wanted a loud horn, such as in Africa, to warn lorry drivers when it's dusty and they can't actually they can't see, or people who step out into the road. It's a very effective way of telling people that you're coming. But of course at this point I had to find a place to put it around my rally dashboard, and it had to be fairly rugged to survive the off-road sections. So of course then I got into a sort of analysis and almost paralysis of analysing the where it would go, what would the best part, best place to put it would be. So so it blew out of all proportion, so that eventually when we did leave, I think it was about a week late, we then drove down through Germany, and one of the things I hadn't actually tested was riding the bike with all of the stuff on it. Not so much the kit was fine, the weight of the kit, because it amounted to 30 kilos, if that. The problem was the interaction of the fairing, the new tyres, which maybe changed, they're slightly bigger, they changed the characteristics of the bike, and as a result I managed to unleash this terrible vibration into the system, which I couldn't seem to fix. And as much as I tried, as soon as we set off for Germany initially, which was sort of going to be our first stop, heading towards the Nürburgring, which we'd been to before, I then discovered that the bike was almost unrideable. I was making my hands go numb. I'd left my bar muffs, as they're called. They're sort of a warmth protectors on the handlebars. I'd left those behind, and of course my hands got cold even in the sort of the warm April sun, and it was making my hands go numb, and it was terrible. So we made a decision to come back. But of course when I got back I still couldn't find the answer to that, and that's why the time continued on, and in the end I thought the solution was to buy a new bike to replace it. So I did that, only to find that once I'd added all the rally kit again, I made the problem the same. So in the meantime I tried a few options and managed to get the bike back where I wanted it. The old bike, this is. I put some bar end weights in. I added some ballast inside the handlebars to hopefully move the sort of the frequency of the handlebar, or the engine vibration is reflected in the handlebars. And if you add weight to the handlebars, you can change the way the handlebar responds, and therefore it vibrates at a different frequency, which is easier to put up with, and very common. All the bike manufacturers do this. So I put those into the handlebars and changed the gearing, and by lowering the gearing it vibrates more deeply, which again is easier to put up with. It's the high frequency buzzing which is especially annoying. So did all of those things and managed to fix it. So here I am, just on a long day, and set off at 9 o'clock this morning or something, and actually probably earlier than that, and managed to get here by about 6:30 German time, so 5:30. So yeah, it's good. It was a good run. Now I just need to troubleshoot some of the problems. So yeah, on to the next thing.